lot of people have dreams. A lot of people set goals. Everyone has habits, but almost no one has the system. And it's one thing to set the goal and to have the dream, but it's another thing to have the system and to keep the focus throughout the rest of the year. So this is what we're gonna do in this video. We're gonna start from the top down. We're gonna figure out what your dream life is. We're gonna chunk that into a SMART goal, figure out what the habits are that are gonna be strung together and the system so that you can go into the rest of your year. So grab a coffee, get out your notebook, because there is a lot under this flip chart. So before we get into it, I want to talk about SMART goals. Now, everybody's heard of SMART goals, and I love goals. I'm a very goal-oriented person, but there are a few issues with SMART goals, and they're very incomplete just taken on their own. One, this actionable and time-bound are not married to each other. It's just seen as a checkbox. Is it actionable? Yes. Is it time-bound? Yep, I want to do it by this deadline, and then we call it good. But when those two things never get married to each other because time is reality, then the goals never come into reality. And the other thing is that this requires you to be a very good judge of time, and especially when we're talking about yearly goals, that's a long time frame, and the bigger the time frame goes out, the worse and worse we are to actually be judges of time. And SMART goals do not take into account any sort of lead indicators or lag indicators. Basically, do you have control over the goal? People might set a measurable goal like, I want to make $1,000 this month in my new business, and that is measurable, and it also is actionable. There are steps that you can take, but that doesn't change the fact that we are not 100% in control of the timeline of that goal. It would be better to set a goal that we are in complete control over. And the final thing that it lacks is the system, the thing tying these all together. And that's what I want to talk you through in this video. So if you haven't already, get paper, get a pen, grab your coffee, because I really want to chunk out not only your goal, but also your system with you. So this diagram right here, this is a mountain, and this is what I'm calling the mountain of your dreams. Now at the top of this mountain, you can see kind of a flag placed at the top. That's where your SMART goal is going to be. That's your end result that you're wanting. But even above this step, there is another level that I think is equally important. And if you don't think about this step, when you get to this goal, you might not be happy. And this is thinking about your dream life. It's airy-fairy, it's metaphorically up in the clouds, and these are the things that people a lot of times will not admit to themselves that they actually want. These are the things that you get around to a midlife crisis and then you finally admit to yourself that you want this. So it's important that we don't neglect this step, because if we neglect this step, there are some people who actually do reach a lot of goals, they'll get to the goal, but then they realize it's not something that they really want. So if we don't think about what our values are and our priorities are and what our dreams really are, when we get there, we'll get that goal depression. Like, oh, I'm here, now what? At the bottom of the mountain, we have your habits. Now these are metaphorically the steps you take every day. One step up the mountain, one step up the mountain, one step up the mountain. It's the slog. It's like, it's not glamorous, it's not very fun, but it's just the little steps you take every day. Then we have the system, which is a group of habits strung together, sequenced in a specific order in a way that works for you, done repeatedly and consistently, that will propel you up the mountain. And so it's really all of these things taken together that will get you up the mountain. So you feel like you have habits, you feel like you've set goals, you've got these dreams, and you're still not getting up the mountain. It might be because you don't have this system. So if you don't have the system, you're not gonna have the thread that's stringing throughout the end of the year. It's like you just set a goal and it's completely disjointed from the rest of the year. And the system is what is the thread that ties everything together. So a lot of people have dreams. A lot of people set goals. Everyone has habits, but almost no one has the system. And it's one thing to set the goal and to have the dream, but it's another thing to have the system and to keep the focus throughout the rest of the year. So this is what we're gonna do in this video. We're gonna start from the top down. We're gonna figure out what your dream life is. We're gonna chunk that into a SMART goal, figure out what the habits are that are gonna be strung together and the system so that you can go into the rest of your year. So what I want to do with you in this video is start with the end in mind, because I love the quote that forward thinkers are backwards planners. We don't want to just have a vague idea and start going. We want to actually start with the end in mind. Where do we want to be? And we're going to chunk backward from that. So we're going to start at the dream level. And I want to read you an exercise from the Start Today journal. I don't believe that this is in stock. I will have it linked in the description if it does happen to be in stock. But there's a really good exercise that I want to read you. And the point of this exercise is finding clarity on what you actually want. And I just finished the Starting Over series. So if you don't know what you want, that very first video guides you through how to know what you want. Because sometimes these questions are difficult to answer. Sometimes it's really easy for me to know what I want. But sometimes, especially if you've just been through a very difficult period in your life, it's very difficult to actually hope and to answer these questions truthfully because you don't believe that you can get it. Imagine it's a decade in the future. What is the very best version of you doing? What do you look like? How do you go about your day? What kind of clothes do you wear? What kind of car do you drive? Are you a great cook? Do you love to read? Do you love to run? Get specific as you can. Where do you go on vacation? What's your favorite restaurant to eat at now that your life is different? What kind of food do you love? What does it feel like to go through your day? Are you optimistic? Are you encouraging to others? After a decade of working on yourself and growing as a person, how much joy is there in your life? Who is in your life now? What's your inner circle like now that you're the best version of yourself? What does your week look like? How do you treat people? How do they treat you? After 10 years of loving and taking care of yourself, how do you feel in your skin? How do you carry yourself? Are your shoulders back? Is your head held high? How do you speak to the people you love? How are you loved in return? After 10 years of being the best you, how happy are you? Are you energetic? Are you driven? Do you feel ambitious? What's your relationship like with your family members? Do you own a home? And if so, what does it look like? Do you have kids? How old are they now? Do you have a family? Are you married? Are you newly single? What's the best of the best? Now go bigger. What's a bigger version of the best version of you living every day in the best state that you know how to be? What do you do for work? What is the highest value that your future self holds? Is it family? Is it loyalty? Is it growth? Be as specific as you can be. See it like a movie in your mind and sit with it until you can't just see it, you also feel it. You should be able to see it and feel it so intensely that your body feels energized and excited. The images should come faster now. Seem more vibrant, more real. Now, before you forget anything, and without a second of judgment or overthinking it, I want you to write down everything that you just streamed up as fast as you can on this page. So don't hold back. Don't worry about being realistic. The point is not that we have to do all of these things. Sometimes we let just the practical side of ourselves kind of block off our ability to just be honest with what we want. So we're just kind of dumping, just in paragraph form, writing everything that we want. Then what you're going to do is you're going to pick the top 10, which 10 would make the most sweeping difference, and you're gonna list them here and you're gonna write them in the present tense. I am a best-selling author. I am a homeowner. And you're writing it in the present tense so that your mind doesn't think of it like a to-do list. Then once you have your top 10 of things that would make the most sweeping difference, I want you to think about which one would make the most sweeping difference. And you can think about this in this way. If you had a magic wand and you could magically just say, boop, to any one of these things and it's done tomorrow, which one would it be? And a lot of times it'll jump out at you very quickly. And that is the one that we're going to go after first. So we're gonna zoom in on that one goal to pursue, and we're gonna zoom in on quarter one. A lot of times we're not very good judges of time as time goes further and further out. So we're gonna focus on a 12-week sprint. So it doesn't feel like we don't have to do this forever, just a little while, but just for the next 12 weeks, what do you wanna focus on? And I want us to make this a little bit more specific. So one, I want you to think about what are the verbs that you're going to do in relation to this goal. Are you going to go to the gym? You're going to make YouTube videos? You're going to write chapters in the books? What are the verbs that you're going to do? And secondly, how many, what number of those verbs do you want to do? Do you want to write 12 chapters this month? Do you want to film 12 YouTube videos? Do you want to go to the gym 36 times? What do you want to do in the next 12 weeks and how many do you want to do? So what we're about to do is go through a process that's called segmentation. Now, that is all in the planner that I made. I took this process and I made it into a planner because I felt like it was so important to have the system and I couldn't find any planner that actually had the system. So if you'd like to try, I have a free sample of this. If you would like to follow along, this exercise that we're about to do is partially in the free sample. So you can click that, that'll be in the description, or you can just check out the potential planner. So you might think to yourself, by the end of the year, I want to have a book done, which means if I kind of scale that in, by the end of quarter one, we're going to focus on, maybe you just want to have a rough draft done of the book. So based on that, we're going to chunk out the quarter. So where do you want to be by the end of month one? The end of January? Where do you want to be by the end of month 2, February? And where do you want to be by the end of month 3, which is March, which is also the end of the quarter? So your goal for the end of the quarter is the same for your goal by the end of March. So we're gonna start with the end in mind. Maybe by the end of quarter one, you want to have the rough draft written. So we're chunking out the results and you should have 100% control over these results. So we're not chunking back things like I want to weigh this much or I want to have this many thousand subscribers. Those are things you have impact on, but you don't have direct control over the timeline. You can do all the right actions and still maybe the timeline isn't exactly what you wanted. We have our goal by the end of quarter one that we have 100% control over. So maybe that means by the end of February, I want to have half the rough draft done. And maybe by the end of month 1, I want to have 3 chapters written. So what we've done is we've chunked it into phases. These are just benchmarks that we've chunked it down into. So we're not even to the systems level yet. This is just the goal and we're just chunking the goal and getting it a little bit more specific. So now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom into this first month. We're going to zoom into January. Since we're zooming into January, we're going to set weekly benchmarks. We've got the end of week 1, week 2, week 3, and at the end of week 4, that's the same as the end of January. So maybe if by the end of January you wanted to have 3 chapters written, maybe by the end of week 3 you want to have 2 chapters written, maybe by the end of week 2 you want to have 1 chapter written, and maybe by the end of week 1 you want to just have it brain dumped and outlined. So I think at the start of this process it might seem like, oh, this is such a big project, I want to write this whole book, I don't even know where to begin. But as we start chunking it down and chunking it down and chunking it down, these tasks get smaller and smaller and smaller, and all of a sudden you start thinking, oh, maybe this isn't so bad, maybe this is actually pretty manageable. Like I only need to outline the book in a week. Okay, I think I can do that. But we're still at the goal level, and once we get down to the actionable level and the systems level, I'm telling you it's going to clear everything up. So now we are going to get into the 5 to Strive system. It is your action plan which is going to be attached to time. If we just set a goal like I want to write a book and we never say on Monday I want to do this, on Tuesday I want to do this, and we get it down to basically a to-do list verb format, then it is very unlikely to actually occur in reality. So we're going to zoom in then to week 1. So let's just say, for example's sake, let's say by the end of week 1 you wanted to have 1 chapter written. Now we're going to chunk this into daily action items. So we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or however you want to work on this. And for a new goal, I don't recommend that we just completely derail our life over this. I would rather we under promise and over deliver. And what I mean by that is I don't want to say at the jump, okay, I'm going to work on this 3 hours a day. No, if you just got a new goal, maybe shoot for 20 minutes a day. I think that's a big goal, or maybe an hour a day. And if you take an hour a day, that doesn't seem like very much, but that's 7 hours over the course of the week. That's 30 hours over the course of the month. And where would you be if you were 30 more hours along in your goal? Now, with any goal, there's a lot of things we could do. Like, for example, if you want to lose weight, you could take a course on it. You could buy this cookbook. You could go to the gym. You could do the grocery shopping. You could, and on and on and on and on and on. But based on the 80-20 principle, I want us to think about what are the 20% of tasks that would have 80% of the results, and I want us to completely cut off all the rest of those things, because we're very busy people. We might have 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, then you've got to have meal times and chores, and you're getting ready to go to work. And so you might only have like maximum 4 hours of discretionary time. And so if we give an hour a day to this, that's 25% of our discretionary time. So we're not going to go over that. And I think a lot of times when people set weight loss goals, for example, they don't realize how many tasks they're actually adding to their life. Like if meal planning and meal prepping and cooking and working out, like if that's all new to you, that's a couple hours a day that you're adding just by not realizing it. So I want us to cut it down. We're not going to do so many things, but what are the main things that would have the most results? And I especially want us to cut off procrastinating, okay, courses we could take and learning we could take. I used to be a teacher. The best way to learn is by doing. So we're going to focus on doing it, executing. The results will come later. So maybe if you want to have a chapter written by the end of the week, maybe Monday you outline the chapter, maybe Tuesday you draft half, maybe Wednesday you draft the other half, and maybe Thursday you edit half and Friday you edit half. And you can do this with every goal. Most goals repeat on a weekly basis. If you have a weight loss goal, maybe that means you grocery shop on Saturdays, you work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you cook every day, you meal prep on Sundays. That'll just be a weekly routine that'll repeat every single week. And in this planner, it has you chunk this out every week. I mean, this actual chunking out is very quick. It just takes 30 seconds. But I found that there was no planner for you to actually do this, because I don't want to just chunk this out once and then think it's going to carry me out throughout the rest of the year. An analogy that I love is that some goals are just basic habits, but some goals are big, like Mount Everest. And before you climb Mount Everest, you need a plan with deadlines. It's not just, oh, I'm going to sit down and edit the book for an hour. The next day, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'll reread what I wrote for a little while. Oh, next day I sit down, oh, I'm going to reread what I wrote again. And before you know it, so much time has gone by and all you've done is just like edit forever and edit and reconceptualize, like everything besides just actually getting it done. So we need deadlines to help us remove perfectionism and kind of just like beating ourselves up. Because you need a way, if you're climbing Mount Everest, you need a way to say, today I'm getting to this camp, and then tomorrow I'm going to get to this camp. And when you get on the mountain, there will be things that go wrong and the plan will not go according to plan and you will have to reroute, but that doesn't mean that making the plan didn't work in the first place. And that is what this planner helps you do, is the rerouting. It takes the planning and then things go wrong and it takes replanning. And a lot of people, when plan A doesn't work, they completely derail their goals. But this helps you. We make a plan B, we make a plan C, we make a plan D, and we are not going to stop until we get the thing done. So if we were going to boil this down to one habit, the one habit that I have is I show up to my planner every day and I do what it says I needed to do, especially in relation to my big goal. And if you just set the habit of I show up to my calendar and I do what it says I needed to do, that is the one habit that makes everything fall into place. It is actually so incredible what people have used this system for. People have planned trips around the world, including Antarctica, using this. Multiple albums are on Spotify, YouTube channels, my own of course, but also one with over 15,000 subscribers. Books have been written, I mean, memoirs, biographies, fiction books, many books have been written with this process. So I wouldn't underestimate the power of having the goal, having the plan, but then actually having the system to reevaluate, to string the habits together, to make sure that you're connected emotionally, to make sure that you're rewriting your goals, to make sure that you're tracking your goals. That is all included in this planner. So I will have the free sample to the potential planner linked in the description, as well as the potential planner itself. So check that out, reach your big goal. This is the year that you actually do the things. This is the year that you have the goal, you have the plan, and you have the system. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.